Okay, hello everyone. This is an informational video and a kind of an unboxing, even though this has been unboxed for a very long time. But it's just basically an informational video on the machine, how I use it, and some tips and tricks. I typically only use this machine at my spa for the non-invasive butt lifts, for cellulite treatment, and that's pretty much it. So getting right into it, on the side, that's obviously the power cord. This is an American power cord. I'm in America, so I'm sure they have European cords or wherever you're from. That is the fan. That fan needs to be left uncovered at all times because the air that we're sucking in needs somewhere to be released, or else your machine will overheat. So make sure that fan is uncovered. That is the power button. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Then getting over to the other side is the hose input, and that can screw right off. And then inside you have a filter, which I'm going to show you in a second. Comes right out. Okay, so then you can take the filter out, and those do come with replacement filters, which I'll show you in a second. The machine comes with it, so hopefully, mine did. So sometimes if you don't have a filter in there, people have complained about the suction not working or not working properly. Sometimes if there's no filter, the suction will not work. Sometimes if the filter is dirty, the suction will not work. So you do have to make sure that you change that filter out. There's another reason why the suction might not work, which I'll tell you in a second. Just finish up this part right here. I'm showing you a washer. So you see there's a washer around that to help keep it in place when it's screwed in, and they give you an extra washer. So I'm going to screw that back on, and then we're going to go to the front of the machine, power it on here. Okay, so I'm going to pick it up so you can see it here. On the bottom, these are automatic settings, so M0, M1, M2, and M3. I never use those automatic settings because everybody's different and everybody has a different pain tolerance. So I don't even touch that. I do everything manually. So basically, you're just going to go off of how your client feels and their comfortability level. So then, getting over to the top left-hand side in a second here, is the pressure. And you'll see. Okay, so the pressure goes up to 30 and it goes down to 5. I would not recommend 30 on the first time and probably ever. So the pressure is basically how hard the machine sucks. So the higher the number, the higher the pressure, the higher the suction, the harder the suction, I should say. And then here up at the top far right is the timing. I only do a 30-minute session for the butt vacuum therapy. You can go up to an hour. Below that is the vacuum, and then below that is the release. So typically they need to be one up from each other. Right now I just have the vacuum. So if you were doing a cellulite treatment, then you probably would just use the vacuum, wouldn't even touch the release because you don't need to. Sometimes I will tell my clients, I'll say, hey, do you want the release higher than the suction? That way, it gives that pulsing feeling, and they'll feel, it's always going to give a pulse feeling if you're using the suction and the release, but if you put the release up one more, the clients will feel a little bit more comfortable because it's releasing. Okay, so also what will come with your machines are hoses. Those are obviously important because you can't use the machine without the hose. So there's the hose input. I'm not going to put it in on this video because I'm not going to be using the machine, but this is a Y-shaped hose. I typically use the Y-shaped hose for the butt lifts or like the hip dips to pull them out. Anytime you're using two cones, you would use a Y-shaped hose. If you're using a single hose, which I'll show you in a second, that's typically for if you're just doing a cellulite treatment, or if you're only using one cup. And I don't think that you're only going to be using one cup for a butt lift because you want it to be even. So that's probably not going to happen. I just showed you that I tied the tube because if you're going to be using you're always going to probably use the cellulite treatment with the vacuum therapy because you need to drag the fat up into the area that they want to improve. And at that point, you saw me tie the knot into one of the Y's. That's so that the suction can work on these tools here. Because like I said, if you leave one of the holes open, it's not going to work. So this is the biggest one right here. This is for the cellulite treatment. You just drag it across the skin. There's a medium-sized one, and there's also the smaller one, which is typically for the face. I wouldn't recommend it for the face because, like I said, this machine is very powerful. It probably would hurt. I would recommend manual ones, which I'm showing you right here. And this does not come with the machine. I repeat, this does not come with the machine. I bought these separately, and I will leave a link to where I bought those. So I would use those on the face. It's just safer, in my opinion, than that one. So moving forward, now we're going to move over to the cones. These are the bigger cones, which typically are for the butt lift. If someone has a bigger bottom, then you'd use the bigger cones. If someone's a little bit smaller, then you probably would go down a size. Depends on the client and what they're looking for. So using the Y-shaped hose, you'd put a hose in each one of the cones, like I just showed you. You'll put them around them. This is the second size. You can use this for hip dips. This is really good for hip dips. And you can also use it for a breast lift. I don't know if I would really recommend the breast lift. The machine does hurt, so it can hurt. I don't want to scare anybody. Depending on if you do the hack that I'm going to show you. So now I'm just showing you the different sizes. I never use any of the smaller cups. I don't do cupping therapy, so I don't really have a reason to use it. I mean, I don't do it on any other parts of the body but the butt. So I'm turning off the machine now because that's no longer needed. And if you're not using your machine, always turn it off because these machines are very delicate. So I'm showing you the first hack. Sometimes people will say that the machine is very strong and sometimes unbearable. There are machines that come with what I'm about to show you. I didn't find that out until after I already purchased this machine, and I refused to buy another machine for $1,000. So the first hack is with the Y-shaped hose. I'm going to show you that I'm going to be tying the bottom. So I would tie the bottom, not where the Y is, more down towards the end. It doesn't really matter how close you go to the Y, but not on the Y. So you tie it, and what that does is that slows down some of the pressure. So then you'd put that other end into the input on the side. So that's the first hack. And then the second hack is something that I just came up with. I just randomly thought of it. So I added a valve on there. So this is a different hose. It's still a Y-shaped hose, but it's just a different one. So what I did was I cut right there. Don't mind my gloves, by the way. They don't have a large in my size ever, so I had to use a bigger one. So right there, you cut the hose to separate them, and then you're going to place a valve. I'm going to show you the valves. So there's a plastic valve. You need to make sure it's double-sided, and then a metal valve. I just bought both of them, and I only used the plastic one because that's the one that I got first. But it doesn't hurt to have more. So I connected the valve to both sides, and it worked perfectly. So now I'm turning it, you can see, and that will control the pressure of the air. So instead of, forcing your client to have to deal with the pain level, now you can control it. So you can, you can put it to where the client will be comfortable instead of them having to deal with so much pain. So that will, here we go right here. So if you turn it to the right, that locks it in. So that will give less pressure. So it'll slow the air down. You turn it to the left, the air will speed back up. So, and you still get that pulse feeling. It's not going to stop it's not going to stop any of the procedure. Everything's going to turn out just fine. Yeah, so those are the two hacks. You either tie it, so you can tie it in the meantime, or you can use the valve, and that's it. So that's it for today. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll have more videos for you shortly. And if you have any requests, definitely let me know.